Hear ye, hear ye. Rick Dhaliwal has spoken, and he has given us some more Vancouver Canucks related updates that I would like to share here on the YouTube channel. Now, he's been using Twitlonger to explore different ways of actually bringing the news and talking about things, and he most recently uploaded another one yesterday. He also, included with the Twitlonger, posted a few of the key points into several individual tweets, but because he does have the Twitlonger as an available thing all in one tweet as well, we're going to be going over that here today in this video on the Vancouver Canucks. Dhaliwal says that we have updates on Chris Tanev, Tyler Toffoli, Reid Boucher, and Petrus Palmu. We have 10 minutes of gameplay, 4 players to talk about, and we are already 1 minute into this video, so let's go into the first topic here in the Twitlonger. The discussion starts off with Tyler Toffoli, and Rick Dhaliwal talks about how Tyler Toffoli's impact on the Vancouver Canucks was indeed something that people took a look at and said, yeah, that's really good. 10 points, 10 games played, a few goals here and there, overtime winner. Tyler Toffoli was a great player for the Canucks, but his contract is expiring. Toffoli's agent, Pat Brisson, had a few things to say about this. During the pandemic, I've been in touch with Jim Benning a few times. For the short time that Tyler Toffoli has been in Vancouver, he has definitely enjoyed the city and the direction of the team. Some think the current financial situation of the NHL, which is that the league's salary cap may not rise a whole bunch, or if at all, is ultimately going to impact how some players on the UFA market fare. But frontline players like Tyler Toffoli will still get paid. Pat Brisson says this as well: with regard to the current situation in our world, we have to go a week at a time. Once the 24-team concept starts, we'll have a better idea of the landscape ahead. Tyler Toffoli is not the only big name that Brisson has in the Canucks. He also represents Quinn Hughes. Now, we're talking about Tyler Toffoli because Rick Dhaliwal's Twitlonger actually goes over what I mentioned was the big three a few months ago, talking about Tanev, Toffoli, and Markstrom, the big three most prominent upcoming UFAs on the Vancouver Canucks roster right now. They're not UFAs yet, and they're not going to be UFAs on July 1st like they normally would be, but because the way the NHL has shifted, contracts have gotten extended a few months because of this whole pandemic, we have ourselves a situation where the process has been drawn out. And for Tyler Toffoli's case, we do indeed have some uncertainty here. But at the same time, it's nice to see Pat Brisson, the agent, coming out and saying, yeah, he very much enjoyed his time here. I'm keeping in touch with Benning, and we'll see what happens once this whole 24-team format gets established and gets underway. We still have play-in series to go here with Tyler Toffoli against the Minnesota Wild. We have games to play, so we haven't seen the last of Toffoli in a Canucks jersey yet if he decides to leave in free agency, but just the way the quotes are laying out over here, it is nice to see that he did indeed enjoy his time here. Next up, we have ourselves some confusion about Chris Tanev in an article last week that stated that he was willing to take a 1-year deal in free agency. After Rick Dhaliwal talked to various sources, he says that there is no way that Chris Tanev will accept a 1-year deal, because players work hard to become UFAs, a 10-year veteran, and a top 4 defenseman, and these are all what Chris Tanev is, so somebody like Tanev is going to be looking for term on the market. You don't wait 10 years to become a UFA and sign for 1 year. That doesn't happen. You go to the market value, and Tanev will be no different. This is what his agent says. Wade Arnott says that Chris's preference is to find a way to stay and re-sign an extension in Vancouver, but his contract status will take off itself in time. There are many things yet to unfold for the Canucks, including their potential return to playoff format this summer. If money does free up, the Canucks will have a shot at Tanev, but if it does not, he should do fine on the free agent market. Now, when it comes to Tanev, Markstrom, and Toffoli, I've been seeing polls pop up like every other day on Twitter talking about Things like, okay, who out of these three is the one that you want to sign the most? Or who out of these three is the one that you would want to re-sign the least? And just based off of everything that I've been seeing, a lot of Canucks fans over the past few days, pretty much, have kind of been discrediting Chris Tanev in a way. People are talking about the value of a Jacob Markstrom, and the potential of a Tyler Toffoli, with Pettersson, with Miller, and the offensive production that could entail, and contrasting that to the defensive shutdown style that Chris Tanev plays on the blue line. And a lot of sentiment that I've seen says that a lot of Canucks fans are saying, yeah, Brogan Rafferty is in the system. He is a right-handed D-man who could potentially replace Tanev, maybe not to the same value, but positionally, for sure. So, I've been seeing Canucks fans kind of turn their back on Tanman a little bit over the past few days. I don't know if that's something that's shared on YouTube, but it's certainly been prevalent there on Twitter. So we'll see what happens with Chris Tanev as things go on as well. Obviously, Toffoli, who we already talked about, is also a big part of this equation. Whatever happens to him, whatever happens to Markstrom, what happens to Stetcher, Virtanen, Gaudette, these guys are all going to impact how the rest of their teammates perform on the salary cap front. But straying away from players who are on the team, let's talk a little bit more about the young guys, former Utica Comets, and prospects. The next guy we're talking about is Petrus Palmu, a Vancouver Canucks draft pick from the 2017 NHL Entry Draft. I remember this very dearly because 2017 was seen by many as a very good draft immediately after the Vancouver Canucks did it. Now, first off, the first-round pick wasn't necessarily seen as amazing by everybody, but a year removed, everybody saw that first-round pick's value in Elias Pettersson. We also had Cole Lind in the second round, DiPietro, and Gadjevich as well. Not to mention Gadjevich's teammate and line mate with the Owen Sound attack and Petrus Palmu, a small guy but a good guy who was able to do really good things in the OHL. However, Palmu, after going over to the Utica Comets, ended up not doing so well. He went over to Europe, and now he is what Rick Dhaliwal labels as the forgotten draft pick. Palmu left Utica in January 2019, and he was not invited to the Canucks camp this season, and he played in Finland. It was announced this week that Utica is bringing back coach Trent Cull, and there was a communication breakdown between Palmu and Cull in Utica. When Petrus Palmu left Utica, which was just over a year ago, Rick Dhaliwal did an interview with him. Rick asked why Palmu wasn't getting the ice time with the Comets, and Palmu said, "I don't know. Honestly, I didn't get the reason why I didn't get the ice time. Nobody really talked to me." The Canucks apparently were not happy with Palmu about that interview, so nice job sabotaging him, Rick Dhaliwal. Obviously I'm joking, but you have to be held accountable for the answers that you give to the media, don't you? The Canucks and Palmu's agent Todd Diamond will most likely agree again that Palmu should find a place in Europe to play next season, and not the Utica Comets. A source said the Canucks drafted him, thought enough of him to sign him, but don't think enough about him to resolve the issues he has with the organization. The Trent Cull thing in Utica was kind of huge, and a lot of Canucks fans were kind of ripping on him, the coach I mean, for not giving guys like Palmu and Lind, etc., the opportunities to exceed their expectations. Now, Cole Lind, full disclosure, he exceeded his expectations and bounced back a year later. Palmu bounced back a year later, but he did so in the Finnish Liga. So going over what he's going to do next year, it looks like he's going to stay over there in Europe. The timeline and the potential window of NHL likelihood for Petrus Palmu is dwindling year by year, and something like this where it looks like the organization is not willing to send him back to the Utica Comets off of the case of him having communication issues with the coach certainly isn't something that's nice to hear. In other Utica Comets news, though, we have talk on Reid Boucher hearing interest from Russian teams has picked up for the Utica Comets All-Star. Not sure if he signs overseas, but there is interest. Earlier in another video talking about Rick Dhaliwal tweets, we noted how Dhaliwal said that he doesn't necessarily believe the Canucks have too much of an incentive to bring Boucher back. If Boucher comes back and he's willing to become the Utica Comets' #1 goal scorer again, then hey, welcome him back to the organization. He was a very good asset on that front. There isn't necessarily too much NHL potential, I would say, in terms of being a full-time player. But if a European team is able to get their hands on a Reid Boucher, they could just probably be signing their league's next best goal scorer, so I definitely see why there would be an interest. But aside from that, though, we don't know too much on that front, and that kind of wraps up our gameplay, so I'll leave the commentary off at here. Today we talked about Tyler Toffoli, Chris Tanev, Petrus Palmu, and Reid Boucher. Hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below what you think about these players. Social Trolls 99, and bye.